I didn't know that I want to be a Muslim, but I didn't know that I didn't want to be a Catholic. I knew that Islam was beautiful, it was peace. I started like healing my relationship with God, and that's what brought me to Islam.
Okay, we're here with Victoria Bermudez, and she is a recent revert from Mexico. So thank you for being with us.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me.
Walaikum salam. So let me ask you a few questions.
Of course.
So when did you revert to Islam?
I revert November 28th of 2018.
Okay, great. Was it hard for you to convert?
Well, it took a lot of learning. I started looking into Islam since July 2017, and I started taking classes. I started taking teachers and stuff, and it took a lot because it was a very difficult decision when it comes with culture and it comes with family.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to be sure that it was my final destination.
Mm-hmm.
Alhamdulillah, but it was not that hard when you take it that about the question. It was hard when you put it on the question.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that Islam was beautiful, it was peace, and it wasn't that hard.
Oh, okay. So how did your family deal with your conversion to Islam?
So I didn't manage that really well. I didn't tell my parents anything until I was already a Muslim, and we were at breakfast, and I just said like, I want to be a Muslim. Can you pass me the sauce?
Yes.
So it was kind of a fun thing for me, not for them. They were quite shocked. There was a lot of rules that they didn't thought that I could make, but Alhamdulillah, I have had all their support. So I'm so blessed about it, and I'm just happy that they can see my changes after Islam.
So at first they were surprised, and then they were pleasantly surprised at the positive changes that you went through after you became Muslim.
So I will not say that they are pleased. They respect me, and they will always support me, and they will always defend me of other people. But I think in the back of their minds, they are hoping that I go back to Catholic church again.
Mm-hmm. Why did you become Muslim?
For me, it was since I was a kid, I didn't agree with a lot of things about Catholic Church. And the first time that I told my dad that I was going to change religion, I was around 15. It was around 2013 or more or less. And I didn't know that I want to be a Muslim, but I didn't know that I didn't want to be a Catholic. So I guess it was the logic. Islamic theology, it's so much, it has more sense to me. And then it was the prayers, because for me it bring me a lot of peace. And I started like healing my relationship with God, and that's what brought me to Islam.
So how did you find Islam? Did you know any other Muslims? How exactly did you learn about Islam?
So I didn't knew Muslims before. Back in 2013, I was in Canada studying, and I met this beautiful girl that she was a Muslim, but she never talked to me about Islam. She was just a hijabi, and she was nice and respectful and a lot of things, even though our lifestyles were very different. So once in 2017, I was in Montefiore Medical Center as a med student, and I got to have a patient. He was from Yemen, and he was recently engaged, but at the time they arranged his marriage. It was not like they met and they were happy. He has never like see her. So they were so nice, and instead of like explain me why they arranged the marriage, they started to explain about Islam. So it makes so much sense to me. At the time, all of them told me like, you have to revert, but me being the rebel that I am, I didn't agree at the time. I actually told them that I would cut a boob first. And they were just like, one of them actually told me like, you are gonna have such a beautiful Muslims kids because you're such a beautiful person. And I was like, yeah, they're not gonna be Muslim. They're gonna be Catholic, even though I didn't agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me like God had me in the radar, in his radar, and
Radar.
that was like something beautiful because I didn't thought that God knew about me. You know, I was so separate from God that I was living my life, but I was not like, oh, he knows about me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when I finished my time in Montefiore, they asked me to stay. I didn't. I come back home and I started researching. First of all, at first it was just Google, which was my worst mistake. You don't go
Google.
Google. Yeah,
Oh boy.
acknowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Alhamdulillah, I got on Instagram. I got this another Muslim. He's a nurse and he has such a beautiful Islamic page.
Mm-hmm.
So I love to wake up and just watch his post because it was so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, he tagged another brother that later became my mentor for Islamic knowledge. And I just text him and I said like, you know, I'm looking into Islam, but I have a lot of doubts. I have a lot of fears. And he actually took me all the way until my Shahada. He teach me, he told me like not to worry when things didn't went as I wanted. And I told him like he's a champion because I'm a really stubborn person. So he just actually make me understand really theology and make me understand that my place was in Islam.
Wow, that's amazing. So that was that like a major turning point for you to kind of learn more about Islam through with this person from Instagram?
Yeah, it was totally a major turning point because in Google you find a lot of things that are not true, and it you advance two steps and then you walk back another three because there's a lot of things that are scary when you put in Google Islam. But knowing the real Islam, get to see him with his family and how he treated his wife and everything, I think it gave me a lot of confidence about my decision.
Okay. So what was it like? What was the day like that you took your Shahada? Did you plan it? Where did it happen?
No, so I didn't plan it at all. We had my mentor and I. We had planned a call, and at first I couldn't like make the call. It was my last final of the semester. I hadn't slept for weeks,
Oh my.
and I didn't have clean underwear.
Oh no.
It was just like that. But I had this call with my teacher, and his teacher was in Cairo with him. So he told me like, do you wanna? Because I have already told him that I wanna do Shahara, but I want to do with my parents. So he told me like, I know you wanna do it with your parents, but my teacher is here. Like he's a really blessed person. Do you wanna make Shahada? And in my mind, everything that I thought it was no, I'm not ready. Like I need my parents. But of my mouth, I say yes. Okay, let's do it today.
Yes, yes.
So
Wow.
he told me he was going to call me back and that I had to do wusul. That at the time I called it guru with an extra step. So at that day I called all my Muslim friends because with the time I started getting more Muslims friends. And I called each of them. Nobody answered because I didn't want to do it alone. And when he called, I was so nervous. It was just I actually had the video, and in the video, like I don't even know what I'm doing now. I know how to say shahara, but the teacher he was speaking Arabic and he was speaking too far, and I was just too nervous, too anxious about it. But mashallah was so beautiful for me, and I did it online. He was in Cairo, and I did it on my living room, and I think after I did Shahada was like the most peaceful afternoon.
Oh, how wonderful.
And
So
that's the
so
magic
yeah.
that happened.
So how did you feel after it happened? You said you had a peaceful afternoon, but how did you feel?
The first thing that I felt, I sat down and I said to myself, what the hell did you did? Like, and I think that eventually it was like, what is next? You don't know anything about being a Muslim, even that you have been studying and you're ready, you don't know anything. At that time, I didn't thought that I could do it because there's many things that I didn't thought that they were possible for me. And so I just sit there. It was really quiet, and I just absorbed my feelings and how I was feeling and what I was thinking. I wrote a lot about how I was feeling because one day, inshallah, I want to tell my kids how it felt for me. And my I cannot do this didn't last long because next afternoon I was so blessed that I was introduced to this sister, and she video called me, and she was just like so fun and rebel as well. We had many things in common. So she just gave me everything that I need as to say, yeah, it's gonna cost me, but it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine, and I can do this.
So how old were you when you took your Shahada?
I was 22.
22. Okay. So you said that there were some things you thought weren't possible for you. What were those things?
I guess covering, I have never been, well, now I cover, but at the time, I have never covered myself. I will use whatever I want. And then fasting for a month or fasting at all. My first fast was when I already was a Muslim. So fasting, praying 5 times a day. But overall, I think that many of my friends were male. So I was worried about that.
Oh, yeah. So what was that like for you? How has becoming Islam, how has it changed the way you are?
I think it changed your life because there's a dua for everything. People like Muslims do everything with protocol, like to the bathroom, to it. Everything has a dua, everything has a way to do it. Alhamdulillah, it's super nice. So it changed a lot. And for my personality and stuff, I became less angry with the world. I became a little bit less aggressive with the world because I finally was in peace.
So did you come up with any like new good habits? Did you lose any bad habits?
Yeah, I stopped smoking. The first day after my shahada, I didn't buy any more cigarettes. I stopped drinking. I stopped partying. I tried to have like more careful relationship with men, especially my friends that are like from long time. I'm trying to maintain that relationships, but with a really, really careful between us and trying to never touch or stuff like that. Like always be careful with that. Well, I'm now alhamdulillah praying 5 times a day.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm alhamdulillah I'm doing dhikr every day. So there was a lot of positive change on me. I left a lot of bad habits. I think that even, when you have to wake up for fire at 5 a.m., like you get more time. I changed what I see on TV and stuff. I try to do more Islamic things that, Netflix or things like that.
Sure. So was there anything that seemed strange, confusing, or weird when you first became Muslim?
Muslims. Like Muslims were so weird when I became a Muslim. Eventually, like I told the world that I was Muslim, and I went to the mosque for the first time. I did a lot of things, and then for me it was really weird when the mosque said things like, you have to separate from your family or things like that they weren't true. So Muslims became a lot of issue in my life. Especially Muslims without knowledge, that they try to make like things harder for people. Alhamdulillah, I always have the guide of my mentor, and he was like, this is true, this is not true. I know where they're coming from, but you can do this, you can, yeah. And Muslim men as well, it was hard because they smell like you revert, and they start proposing you like it's yeah. It's my first 7 months as a Muslim, I received 7 proposals, 1 proposal each month.
Wow.
I don't know which is more impressive. that I got 7 proposals or that I didn't accept anyone.
So are you currently married?
No, I'm not.
So it's wonderful that you had a mentor to sort of guide you, because sometimes there's a lot of things that can be confusing, like a lot of contradictions or conflicting interpretations. Did you find any of that to be the case?
Yeah, there was a lot of for me, one of the first things that caught my eye, it was that in a lot of Islamic groups on Facebook, they use this image of a lollipop cover and another lollipop not cover, and then the one that is not covered has like bugs. I don't know if you have.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that, but okay, that makes sense. The one with bugs, the one uncovered because it's sticky. Uh huh.
Yeah, so that was for me a controversial because it's horrible to say it like that. And like that, there was a lot of things that I have seen or Muslim told me that have been controversial.
Mhm.
But having a mentor, it changed a lot of the game because you have someone you can trust, someone that studied or is studying Islam in their basics, like studying everything, and he's preparing in different schools. So having a mentor, it changed a lot of the game,
Mhm.
and it helped me a lot. So yeah, there was been a lot of controversials that was weird,
Mhm.
but I always was blessed enough to have someone to go back and say, I'm this is making me upset or this is making me confused,
Mhm. Mhm.
and then have an explanation, or he will say read this or learn this. So alhamdulillah, I think that even if I think that everyone should have like a mentor,
Mhm.
someone that teaches them
Mhm.
will this process, because it's not that as easy as a process.
Mhm.
So someone like should guide them.
Yes, I think that you're right. So there's a lot to learn, and you have to learn a little at a time. Was there any sort of new etiquette that you learned while you were seeking knowledge from, your mentor and maybe other teachers?
There was a lot of things because I didn't agree with the Catholic Church, but there was a lot of things that were different from
Mhm.
Catholic Church. So yeah, I learned a lot. I learned even of how to choose my resources, how to
Mhm.
become a Muslim, because it is a change. Your life changed 100%. There was a lot of change, a lot of learning,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
there's things that I would never even think about it if there wasn't that I was learning about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it was a really like growing experience for me.
Mhm. Mhm. So you said your family, they would be happy you became Catholic again, but they're still supportive. What about your friends? How did they feel about this change in you when you
I
became
think my
Muslim?
friends have been the most supportive. For them, I just had to tell them like I'm Muslim, and they are like, okay. They didn't even ask questions. They
Sure.
didn't, because sometimes when you tell other people that you're Muslim, they go away. It happened with part of my extended family.
Mhm.
When I became a Muslim, they stopped following on social media.
Mhm.
They don't talk to me and things like that.
Mhm.
And for my friends, for me, it was really beautiful because I told them in a breakfast, I just said, like, I want to be a Muslim. They
Mhm.
say, okay. And they ask you if I was going to cover.
Mhm.
And then they make one or two jokes and they move on. And it was just like, it was just me.
Yeah, sure. Sure, because you're still the same person.
Well, when I first became Muslim, I was not wearing a hijab. So if I didn't want people to know, they didn't know. Like I had to say, like, I am Muslim.
Mhm.
But eventually I became a hijabi, and eventually it became hard to people not to know that I was Muslim.
Mhm.
And it does change, especially in cities where they are not used to have Muslims around. They don't used to cover. My
Mhm.
grandma still tells me like, you are not gonna be able to find a husband like that.
Oh.
So it is complicated, but it's beautiful as well. I love
Mhm.
the concept of hijab. I wasn't sure I wanted to be a Muslim, but I was sure I wanted to wear, well, not wear hijab, but start wearing modesty and
Mhm.
protect myself. It was the first thing that I was completely sure about it, about Islam. So it is complicated, but it's beautiful.
Mhm.
I love the meaning of it, and I just wish that everyone could see it the same way.
Sure. So, how was your first Ramadan?
Well, it was okay. And it was, alhamdulillah, my first Ramadan. I was with a lot of community.
Uh-huh.
I was breaking fast every day with people,
Mhm.
either on the mosque or we made a group of Muslims that we like did it at home.
Mhm.
My mom flight for the Eid and for the last days of Ramadan. So beautiful, so much different to my experience of my second Ramadan. That it was COVID time and it made everything different, but it actually made everything more accessible.
Mhm.
There was a lot of lectures. There was online a lot of breaking fast and stuff. So Ramadan, it wasn't as hard as I thought.
Mhm.
The fasting part.
Mhm. Were you able to learn to read the Quran?
I'm basic in reading Arabic,
Mhm.
but actually I have one of my teachers that laughs a lot
Mhm.
because when I'm reading Quran, I'm not reading it. I just memorize the Quran, so I
Mhm.
don't have to read because I'm not that good at reading Arabic.
Well, memorizing's a good thing too. So that's not
Yeah.
too bad. So, we kind of talked about this, but what mistakes did you make when you first became Muslim?
The best advice it was that it was my process to enjoy it, that I
Mhm.
was going to be ready to do changes at my and at my own path,
Mhm.
and that I was going to be able to enjoy it and live this process, live all the emotions, and make my own decisions.
Mhm.
And I think it was the most beautiful advice that a Puerto Rican sister gave it to me.
Mhm.
And because once when you revert, people start asking you to cover or start asking you to do more,
Mhm.
and I think there's a lot of people that get burned out
Mhm.
about trying to be the perfect Muslim in the first week.
Mhm.
So it's just your own process. You're gonna feel comfortable if you were wearing like short sleeves. You can maybe use a 3/4 of sleeves and going step by step, baby
Yes,
step.
yes, baby steps instead of jumping in all the way and then getting overwhelmed and burnt out.
Exactly.
So tell me what the worst advice was that anyone gave you.
So I have a few.
Yes.
I think one of them is that I shouldn't be close to my family because they were different religion.
Mhm.
That I shouldn't be a med student because scrubs weren't good for my modesty,
Mhm.
and that I shouldn't do grocery shopping by myself. And that is not that bad when you have family of people around, but
Sure.
my family was living 10 hours away. So I didn't know what she expect for me to do photosynthesis or something.
Mhm.
But I think that's kind of the three worst advices that I
Yeah,
got.
you've got to eat.
Exactly.
So, what were the verses of the Quran that greatly influenced your faith?
The one that says, if you call upon me, I will respond.
Mhm.
The one that says that when you save a life, it's like you have saved the whole humanity.
Mhm.
And the one that says that don't believe that you can say, I believe,
Mhm.
and not be tested.
Yes, yes, which is a very good verse. So I feel like, especially as new Muslims, that we go through a lot of tests.
Yeah, it's
So
quite a process.
it is true. What about sayings of the Prophet that have greatly influenced your faith?
I think, especially in my first months as a Muslim, I got the opportunity of a lot of people telling me hadiths
Mhm.
about the Prophet sallallahu
Mhm.
alaihi wasallam, and I think it was just beautiful for me to see how he acted, how he will be with another people, Muslims or non-Muslim, how
Mhm.
who will like help, and I think he's such a great influence that should be everyone's role model.
Mhm.
And
Everyone's role model. Yes.
yeah, and I'm just for me it helped me try to be better, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So, how are you maintaining your new Islamic life?
I'm the only Muslim in the city that I'm now, but alhamdulillah, I think that I have been able to do all my responsibilities like pray and fast and be better and help people. I think it would be easier with a longer community, even for things like meat, because you're not gonna kill like a full big animal for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to find more vegan options and try to be just better about it.
Mm-hmm.
People are more confrontational here because this is a small town and there's a lot of Catholic influence. I think people judge people that are not Catholic,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but alhamdulillah, I still got respect and I have been able to maintain my Islamic life and my Islamic responsibilities.
Does anyone ever say anything to you while you're out on the street?
Yeah, I have been get attacked. I have people have tried to take my hijab away.
Really?
Yeah, they ruined that hijab. It was such a beautiful hijab, and
Mm-hmm.
as I was wearing pins.
Mm-hmm.
They but I think there's more people that are supportive and that there's tolerant about it and respectful. But yeah, there's people that don't like Islam. I have been called like I have been yelled at the street to go back to my own home, and I'm like, I'm Mexican. I was born here in
Mm-hmm.
this
Yeah.
city.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's there's been like situations where people have not been as nice.
Yes. They're telling you to go home, and that has happened to me. Someone has told me to go home, and I thought, well, why is it their business when I go home? I didn't understand at first. Like, who are you telling me to go home? It's none of your business. I'm a grown woman.
Yeah, exactly. I think that at first you didn't realize like until you start well for me it was until I start telling people like, oh, they told me like to go home and they were like, that's a racist thing to do to say and I was like, oh yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Then it occurred to me that they don't think I'm from my own country, and then I realized what it was that they were saying. So, yeah. What is a piece of advice you would give to a new convert, a new revert?
Just to enjoy the process. It's a process you're gonna change. It's gonna
Mm-hmm.
change, it's gonna get better.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the process. Be as mindful about this process. It's gonna get better. Take step by step. No, don't try to do it all of the time.
Mm-hmm. Or
Peop-
all at once? Yes.
yeah, just try to enjoy it and
Mm-hmm.
try to stay close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and let
Mm-hmm.
everything in the world just keep moving.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for your time, Jazakallah khair. It was nice talking to you. You have a wonderful story to share with others. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me and to be able to share my story. As you say, I hope this inshallah is beneficial to many converts
Inshallah.
and are in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for having me, and well, it was really nice to talking to you.
It was nice talking to you too.